Greetings, welcome to the Evidence and Reasons Academy. I'm Salvador Cordova. Most of you know me already who are regulars to the channel. Glory and honor to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I would like to thank the patrons and donors to this channel who have donated thousands of dollars in the last few months. And that has incentivized me to make more videos. Not so much for this channel, but for my appearances elsewhere, such as my upcoming appearance at the Creation Summit, where I'll share the stage with James Tour and other scientists who actually have secular backgrounds, who are creationists, which is going to be amazing. One of them you've seen on my other channel, Rob Stadler. So it'll be Rob Stadler, James Tour, Jerry Bergman, Joel Brown, and another gentleman, I forgot who his name is. He is an associate professor at Colorado State University, a secular institution, and he's a creationist. This is amazing. And then yours truly will be there. So I've been, the donations have made it possible and incentivized me to work on that presentation because given that it's a big event, people will have very high expectations of what the presentations will be. That being said, the title of today's presentation is Cheshire Viq, My Internet Atheist Crush, Hopes of Wine and Dinner with Her, DOA over Jordan Peterson. And so I will take a lighthearted take on not too serious a crush. Part of the reason it was not too serious is at the time I had my crush on Cheshire Viq, I was very deeply in love with a Christian girl out in Texas. I live in Virginia, so she lives, 1,700 miles away from me. I drove down to see her May 23rd of 2022. That was wonderful to be there with her family, mother and father and sister. That was a dream come true. I had expressed marriage interest to her and her family on August 7th, 2023. And she said, she and her sister actually have said that they were called to be single by God. And I knew the passage that she was talking about. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where they talk about undistracted service to the Lord, which means you're single, so you have more time to spend on ministry work. The Catholic Church has kind of adopted that in various ways. And in the course of that conversation with the young lady and her family, the mom turned to me and said, "Sal, you have a lot on your plate. You should stay single too." So this lovely family I visited up in, they travel a lot around the USA, and I visited them up in Denver, Pennsylvania. So this past fall, September and October, spent 4 lovely days. And I had dinner with them again in Pennsylvania. It was a lovely time. I've corresponded with a young lady. Well, actually, she's a little closer to my age, but I'll call her a young lady. See, I'm 62. I think she's 48. And I corresponded with her, so we're in touch. I expect, God willing, we will remain friends the rest of our lives. So that's kind of the backdrop. I had very intense interest in someone else. But then the story goes that I saw this girl on the internet on a channel known as Dapper Dinosaur, Dapper Dino. And I was struck. She had this very authoritative, powerful voice, very articulate. She had a serious demeanor, which caught my attention. Serious, and she was somewhat quiet, at least when I saw her. At least, the first impression never dies. And now I do know that the story of Samson and Delilah. And so it can happen for sure that a man beholden to God can find himself attracted to a woman that isn't beholden to God. And that's what happened to Samson and Delilah. And so now I kind of experienced, I think, why it's important to be familiar with that passage in the Bible, because I really was able to be attracted to someone who's not a Christian. It's not happened often, but it happened. And so there's a saying that if you don't have a problem being attracted to women, then you are stronger than Samson, you're more spiritual than King David, and wiser than King Solomon. And so take that to heart, gentlemen. Many of us will be vulnerable to this. So how did all this transpire? So once upon a time, I was just doing an after show, and it was March 1st, 2022. Actually, this is the middle of the story, March 1st, 2022. And I noticed in the comment section in the side chat, someone says this, and her name's Cheshire Viq. She says, I would invite Sal out for some wine and a nice dinner. I would invite Sal out for some wine and nice dinner. And you could see it right here. Her name is Chesh. Is her, the nickname for Cheshire Viq. I think her real name is publicly known, but I won't repeat it here. She prefers to go by Cheshire Viq or Chesh. And so there I see the comment. I would invite Sal out for some wine and a nice dinner. And what does she look like? That's her right there. That's Cheshire Viq. Now we had interacted before this, but I was talking about my usual nerdy stuff. This was a discussion, and I'm sorry I dropped the screen share. This was a discussion about an after show about Antony Flew, about atheism and Armageddon. And out of the blue, I get this really sweet comment. I would invite Sal out for some wine and a nice dinner. And so that definitely put a certain dream in my mind to have wine and dinner with Cheshire Viq. Even though I had known, practically speaking, that was just probably a very casual comment. But you know how it is, you begin to think it'd be so nice to go out to have wine and dinner with Cheshire Viq. And I said, I'm just going to let it go. Just don't even give it any energy, Sal. This is just a casual comment made in jest. But I get an email from her eventually. She wants me on her show. And of course, and that's the show there. It happened several months later, January 10th, 2023. And I get to declare my true feelings to her. And I'll play this over twice so you could hear it. Let me make sure that my screen share will share the sound. Okay, it's going to share the sound, and I'll expand it. So there we are on her show. And I say this to her. Occasionally we meet really swell people. Like, it's public knowledge. I said, Chesh is my internet crush. She's like my most wonderful, atheist person. And but okay, I'll repeat this again. Now, I never emailed her because we don't know each other that well. I never emailed her for anything but business, like setting up shows. So I wasn't going to be creepy and say, hey, you're really hot or something like that. I said, that's so ungentlemanly. That's just weird. I said, if I'm going to express um, the fact that I find her attractive, I'll say it in front of everyone and risk total embarrassment for her. But that seemed the more proper thing to do, to just say it publicly. I was not going to email her some love letter. That would just be inappropriate. Anyway, I'll just play it again. This is my declaration here. Occasionally we meet really swell people. Like, it's public knowledge. I said, Chesh is my internet crush. She's like my most wonderful, atheist person. And but so occasionally there we have it. And now I said there was some history behind all of this. It actually, so that was January 2023. It began when I was watching Dapper Dino's YouTube channel, which you see here. And I don't know when this happened. I had appeared on his channel in a show. It was an after show when I debated Dr. Dan Stern Cardinale in the summer of 2020. And so Dapper and I have had interactions, and I was curious what goes on a show every now and then, just to find out what's going on. At the time, we had a good relationship. His panel voted me the #1 YouTube creationist, which I was very flattered. And he invited me to talk about the second law of thermodynamics, July 24th, 2021. See, I see the timestamp there. And I was criticizing other creationists who use it, including my boss at the time, John Sanford. I said, well, I disagree with him. He gave me permission to disagree publicly, but I felt my conscience would bother me if I didn't at least give another perspective, that I think creationists should not use this. So this is a talk I'll give to creationists, but I also gave it on Dapper Dino's channel just to set the record straight and show that I'm willing to stand up and not always join the bandwagon on the latest creationist argument, or one that has been used a lot. Anyway, I think it was during these times of conversation, I said, who's that girl on your channel? I think I have a crush on her. And he said, is that Eric? You mean Erica? Erica Gutsick Gibbon. I said, no. It's another girl. I don't know which one. And I described her to him. And he said, oh, that's Cheshire Viq, like Cheshire Cat. And for a long time, by the way, I kept calling her Cheshire Cat. And I would drive by a street that said Cheshire. So I'd think about her just because of that comment. I know that's silly. And I said, well, I'm not going to contact her. But I said, well, I don't know. I just thought I wanted to find out what her name was. So at least Dapper Dino knew I had a crush on her instantly. Crush at first sight. And I just let it go at that. And I said, I'm not going to pursue this. But what ended up happening, I don't know if word got back to her or what. But so that was July of 2021 when I told that to Dapper Dino. Come January, whether that had anything to do with it or not, I get an email out of the blue from Cheshire Viq. She wanted me to appear on the Non Sequitur show to talk as a panelist on accelerated Christian education. And I was just like, yeah, baby, I get to meet this crush of mine. And so we meet backstage. I was as gentlemanly as possible, tried not to show too much interest. But I will admit, during the show, that's Cheshire Viq there, that's me. When the other panelists were talking, I would sneak a peek and I'm like, yeah, this is nice. I get to be with her. And I said, I'll just savor the moment. Probably never see her again. That's it. That's it. And so that's January 10th. Is it right? January 10th. Yeah, January 10th says it right there. Right there, January 10th. Anyway, so there comes this show on Dapper Dino. I was just visiting, or maybe I stumbled or whatever on his channel. And there she is again. There is Cheshire Viq. And I probably said something a little forward to her in the side chat. So just let me explain. This is a show where they make fun of Kent Hovind, and on certain events, if he says something, you're invited to take a drink. And people will bring their own drinks. Some will bring ginger ale, some will bring something stronger. In the case of Cheshire Viq, I think see if I have do I have the recipe here? Oh no, I don't have the recipe. Let me grab the recipe. The drink she liked was called the Dark and Stormy. It's called the Dark and Stormy. And the recipe for that is Kraken rum. Where did I put that? I put it somewhere. I don't know. It's called the Dark and Stormy. I hope I didn't erase anything. Let me show you a picture of a Dark and Stormy. Hang on, I'll get this right. Apologies for the technical issues here, but let's look at a picture of a Dark and Stormy. It's made of Kraken rum, ginger ale, and a slice of lemon. And that was her drink. So now I'm going to confess, I made a little bit of a forward comment. And it's right here. Evidence and Reasons is me. That's my other channel. And I think I overheard someone saying, what are the recommendations for drinks? And I don't know. I said, I have a 50-year-old Grand Marnier on my shelf, but it seems too sacred to open. But for you, I'd open it. I also have a 60-year-old vermouth that's open. Cheers to you. And now, why do I have all this alcohol in the household? One, I'm Asian, and the ALDH2 gene on chromosome 12, most likely in me, like many Asians, has the RS671 allele, which means we cannot digest alcohol very well. There's something called the acetaldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme that I cannot express. So what that means is when I intake alcohol, I would intake it really only for the taste. I would get sick before I could really get drunk. That means it would come out. It's not, I can't hold the liquor. And So the family had received many gifts for a variety of reasons. I mean, over 60 years, you could collect all sorts of gifts. Traditionally, I guess the crowd that mom and dad hung around, it was customary for them to give fine liqueurs, wines, etc. We had shelves of them. I mean, over 60 years, we accumulated. It was like a wine cellar. We had so many, and we're just like, for me, my favorite drink is Coca-Cola, unfortunately. Um, Next to that would probably be tea. But wines and liqueurs only for special occasions. But I, Cheshire Viq is a real connoisseur for those sort of things. But I do have, excuse me, just to prove it, I have a bottle of Grand Marnier, and you could see it still has the seal on it. I don't know that it has a date, but I know that it sat on our shelves. Made in France, Paris, de liqueur, 80 proof. Now, there was an open bottle of this some time ago, and the reason I know why it tastes so good is that, excuse me, excuse me one second. Let me get my belt, because so I could make sure I look my best when I'm, let me get that there, as I'm going to the table here. So Grand Marnier is a cognac. We also have another cognac, and you can even see the dust on the bottles. I have this very special Courvoisier. It's called Very Special Courvoisier. It is also a product of France. Courvoisier. And I was thinking, what better special occasion to have some wine with someone than with Cheshire Viq. And this is also unopened. Now, many of the Christian girls that I hung around with, it was a virtue to show you didn't like alcohol and you avoided it. So I really never had any dates that I could drink wine with. I had one lady that she loved wine. Oh my goodness. And she educated me really well on drinks. Anyway, this is the Gallo Vermouth. And right here, there's a label. It says 1962. I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't show up too well on the camera. 1962. So this is 60 years over. This is 60 years old. Now this one's opened because I was trying to get rid of all the bottles of wine. I poured some of it down the drain, and I said, that's such a waste. I gave some away to some families, and we still had so much. And I said, I got to try, vermouth is sweet. Anything sweet I like, which is bad, but I like sweet things. And so I would, it's been open for 3 years. You could see how much I haven't drunk very much of it, but it is very flavorful. And that one Christian girl that educated me on wine, by the way, I learned about ice wines, and including those up in Michigan. Now this is a strange one. This is some sort of whiskey, and you can see this is so old. The cork has disintegrated. It's going to be hard to pull that out. We have many more of these, or had them. We probably had 200 bottles of wines and liquors. We didn't have, beer was not popular in our house. Again, these bottles were gifts to us. There was a lot of cooking wine because mom loved to cook. And I drank all of that up eventually. It took a few years. So anyway, I was just trying to explain the story here. I was telling the truth. I didn't make it up when, I mean, this was very, I mean, I try, I try and, I may exaggerate a little bit, but I was telling it like it is. Right there, I said, I have 50-year-old Grand Marnier on my shelf. It seems too sacred to open, but for you, I'd open it. Now, she probably didn't know how serious I was, but I think I was pretty serious. So, I presume she got a little tipsy drinking that dark and stormy Kraken rum. And we know from, physiologically, it kind of, when women drink alcohol, they become a little bit less inhibited, shall we say, and they start to say things. So she probably took a lot of sips of that during the show, because this is a drinking show by Dapper Dino. And I had decided to have an after show after that show. And so this is at the after show, and she shows up, which was surprised. I was flattered she showed up with her mother and Benthoven, no relation, and Dapper Dino showed up on my channel. The gang from the drinking show showed up on my channel. I just mentioned it in passing, and they were very kind. I was just very flattered. And then there's Cheshire Viq after at least one mixed drink. And she says, I would invite Sal out for some wine and a nice dinner. So maybe that was the alcohol speaking, but I'm still genuinely flattered that my internet crush would say I would invite Sal out for some wine and a nice dinner. So continuing on with the story. Later on, I appeared on the drinking show, but I wasn't going to drink alcohol on the show. I wanted to keep my wits about, and I didn't want to flaunt that I drink at all. It's usually for special occasions, or if I was just trying to get rid of the alcohol in the house that had accumulated, that I didn't, the alcohol I didn't give away, and we gave a lot, and we also poured down the drain a lot. Wine can go stale. I found that out. And I just noticed Cheshire Viq here. She asked, what is Sal drinking? It looks good. And then I explained to her cranberry ginger ale. And she says, evidence and reasons. Oh, yum. So that's about the extent of that interaction. So this is, I don't know when this happened. I don't know if we have if there's a timestamp on it. Anyway, May 3rd, 2022. And then out of the blue, some months later, this is totally out of the blue, I get a letter from Cheshire Viq. Of course, caught my attention, and she wanted me to come and talk about a religious critique of the atheist community. And we had Benthoven and Cindy Lincoln, Benthoven, no relation. And it was a very cordial and wonderful discussion. I thought it was productive. And I was thinking, this is my chance to declare that I like her. And I said, I'm not going to, I wasn't planning to send her any emails or say anything. I wasn't going to try to, make a friendship with her just by emailing her. I said it would have to providentially her writing to me. So she wrote to me and invited me on her YouTube channel. And I said, okay, if I get an opening, meaning it's just in the context of whatever she's discussing, I will say that I like her. And I said, I will be willing to be embarrassed in front of the public just to do this appropriately. I'm not going to send her a private email saying I'm your secret admirer or something. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say it in front of everyone on her YouTube channel. And if she shoots me down, that's fine. So I decided to tell her my true feelings. Occasionally we meet really swell people. Like, it's public knowledge. I said, Chesh is my internet crush. She's like my most wonderful, atheist person. And yes, and I just love her. So I'll repeat it again. Occasionally we meet really swell people. Like, it's public knowledge. I said, Chesh is my internet crush. She's like my most wonderful, atheist person. And so I just wanted to say again, just as a reminder, why am I doing this? I think it's partly therapeutic. It's fun. It's partly just for myself and my own benefit. And, it's just kind of nice to reflect on some of the events over the last year. This is meant to be obviously fairly lighthearted. As I said, I was seriously contemplating marriage with someone at the time, someone else, a Christian lady out in Texas. And I had the conversation with her and her father. I think the dad likes me. I think the mom and dad really like me. The girl just is committed to. She will not be mentioned on air. She's committed to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, undistracted service to the Lord. And of course, that's the sort of girl you would expect me to sort of be attracted to, someone who's deeply spiritual. But on the other hand, Cheshire Viq was like Delilah, just like, I like her too. I like her too. Something about her. Because it's so different from the girls that I have gone out with and contemplated having a future. Now, you all know a little bit of my history. My mom got widowed and disabled. I took care of her for 20 years. It was just kind of off the table for like the last 20 years for any of this stuff about girls. But in any case, what happened? Well, in that very same show, I said the thing that would definitely end this, and I said something. We never really had contact after that. I did write her to invite her to participate in a poll, and that was it. I may or may not, I don't recall, invite her to make a show or something. I don't remember. I never heard back from her after this. So what was it that I said that got me kind of like put a wedge between us communicating? Here it is.
Convinced one way or another. However, I do take umbrage with you bringing up Peterson on my goddamn stream. Well, on the other hand, we can talk about Jordan Peterson another time. There's so many better people you could have quoted for that clean your room shit, but no, we get Jordan Peterson. God.
Okay, all right, Chesh, if you say, Sal, clean your room, I'll quote you. Would that make you feel better?
Yes, that would make me feel so much better. Sal, clean your room and take care of you. Mm-hmm. And nobody's going to be better at taking care of you than you are, so take care of yourselves, everybody.
Bash it down, set up a straw man and bash it down.
Yeah, Sal likes Jordan Peterson. Get out of here.
I love Jordan Peterson. I adore Jordan Peterson. I'm killing you, Chesh.
Oh no, it's over.
Oh, it's over. It's funny. So you heard Beethoven say it's over, and then I said it's over. Yeah, there goes there goes my Delilah. She's out of my life. Um, it's over. So what is this? Okay, I wanted to really have a conversation with her about Jordan Peterson. I mean, look at this. This is Jordan Peterson, and he's giving the lobster lesson, and he's talking about dominance and competence hierarchies, and talking about confident lobsters and serotonin and antidepressants. I mean, I just like what is there not to love? And you heard the reference there about cleaning your room. This lobster cleaned his room. That's a t-shirt, I think. There's also a mug. And these are the sayings of Jordan Peterson. Pay attention, keep your room clean, tell the truth, respect your parents, and you'll be a good lobster. And here's another one. You can see all the lobsters here. And a lot of these ideas were articulated in his best-selling book, The 12 Rules for Life. It says here, an antidote to chaos, an antidote to chaos. And one of the sayings there is pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. And so that'll give a little context of, there are some references Chesh knew about it. I'll just play it again.
Convinced one way or another. However, I do take umbrage with you bringing up Peterson on my goddamn stream. Well, on the other hand, we can talk about Jordan Peterson another time. There's so many better people you could have quoted for that clean your room shit, but no, we get Jordan Peterson. God.
Okay, all right,
Well,
Chesh, if you say, Sal, clean your room, I'll quote you. Would that make you feel better?
Yes, that would make me feel so much better. Sal, clean your room and take care of you. And nobody's going to be better at taking care of you than you are. So take care of yourselves, everybody.
Bash it down, set up a straw man and bash it down.
Yeah, Sal likes
do
Jordan
that.
Peterson. Get out of here.
I love
I've
Jordan
seen some-
Peterson.
No.
I adore Jordan Peterson. I'm killing you, Chesh.
Oh no, it's over.
Oh, it's over. And so ends this fairy tale unromance. So again, one would wonder why I'm doing this. As I said, it's a little bit therapeutic. And there is a saying by a wise old man. He expressed this very well, and he echoes other wise men, and that's Mr. Spock. He said, wanting can be a more pleasing thing than having. Wanting can be a more pleasing thing than having. This is actually echoing some things that were noticed by psychologists. So the motivation and the strong feeling of meaning in your life is when you're aiming for a goal. Now, like, let's say your goal is to win the Super Bowl. Your life is built around that if you're a professional football player. And you have all this motivation, and it organizes your mission in life is to win the Super Bowl. What happens when you finally win it, or when you finally win some more, or if you make it all the way to the moon? It is not that unusual where you just like, well, what do I live for after this? I mean, that's perfectly normal. I remember that several times in my life. I was fighting so hard to achieve a goal, and when I achieved it, it was like, yeah, let's celebrate. That celebration lasted a few days, and then it was over. Off to the next, set of things. And so sometimes just, again, to kind of extrapolate what this wise old man said is, wanting can sometimes be a more pleasing thing than having. And so maybe I will just indulge in a little bit of imagination of maybe what it might have been, and just kind of reviewing kind of the goals that I had in mind when Chesh had said she would invite me out to dinner. She would, what did she specifically say? I want to quote her. I would invite Sal out for some wine and a nice dinner. So that was my goal. And I was revisiting, how could I get this to work? Now, I knew the chances were remote. Now, this is James Dean. He's a bad boy. And I'm really not that kind. And I don't know if Chesh likes bad boys, but I'm not. I have a little bit, just a tinge. I mean, I would be like 1% of James Dean, or what he represents in this picture. He has a motorcycle too. I mean, wow. But for me, I have a little bit more gentle expression of machines. That's um, that's me. I'm in a tuxedo because I was performing at a wedding. I'm a pianist, and that after the wedding was over, I went and flew the airplane. And so this is my motorcycle. So that's the little bit of bad boy, my little expression of bad boy. Plus, I'm in casinos. But I think deep down, being a artist, I'm deep down a girly man. I'm deep down a girly man, and I am trying to. I found out I did have low testosterone levels, and I'm trying to correct that, not by supplements, because the doc said that would be counterproductive. I presume that's kind of like the effect of steroids, short-term gain, long-term damage. I didn't get enough vitamin D most of my life. You need that to produce testosterone. I probably didn't get enough. I was low. I have probably low fat, probably not enough magnesium, a few other things, plus genetics. We also do know the environment has fluoride in it, and males overall have 50% less testosterone than the prior generation. And compounding that is, even among my peer group, I was probably 2 standard deviations. So I am a girly man. It would be good to raise the testosterone so I can build up muscle. Thankfully, I'm slim and trim now. And I mean, just to say, hey, look, see, not bad for age 62. Look at that, eh? But I'm a girly man. And, I kind of hear this voice in my head when I contemplate my situation. Here's the voice I hear.
Stop being a girly man and work out. Stop being a girly man and work out. Stop being a girly man and work out. Stop being a girly man and work out.
And then on a more serious note, because I'm getting up there in age, it's going to be hard to develop more muscle mass. I was very ill recently, and because I'm trying to fight any onset of diabetes, I'm in good shape. My last glucose test was 96, which isn't great, but it's below pre-diabetic levels. My A1C will have to be tested. My diet regimen caused me to lose so much weight. I think I may have even lost muscle mass because I was sick for an entire month. And I have to build it up. There are benefits to being physically stronger. You can carry things. You're not under as much strain. It's good cardiovascular. You bring out your inner lobster better, so to speak. Jordan Peterson's happy lobster. It's important to, for your mental and psychological ability to cope, and you end up being a happier lobster. So I have to stop being a girly man and work out. Now, I was a track athlete and I have run and walked. I need to lift weights. But notwithstanding all of those considerations, And as I said, this is therapeutic. What sort of thoughts came into my mind? Because let me see if I could play this, if I have it here. Do I have the recording? I think I might have had. You'll hear what I actually said to Cheshire Viq when she said that very sweet thing to me. Let me see if I could find it. Let's see. Oops. I apologize for the technical issues, guys. Oh, wait, here it is. Wrong one. I got it. Hang on, it's coming. It's coming. All right. Let me get the controls all in line and let's roll. So let me continue here. Oh, I couldn't help but notice that. Oh, that's so kind. Yes, in my casino days, I would definitely treat you because they gave me free meals at lavish restaurants. Let me replay a little bit of that. But notice that. Oh, that's so kind. Yes, in my casino days, I would definitely treat you because they gave me free meals at lavish restaurants. So, and I don't know where I deposited that video, but it's somewhere. Anyway, because I played in casinos, I get what they call comps, which are complementary things to gamblers. The higher your action, as far as the money you're putting in, the size of the bets that you're putting forward, the better comps you get, including free rooms and meals. And I have been to Las Vegas several times. Many of you know I had professional level skills in gambling and blackjack. I was a card counter, plus a few other advanced skills. You can actually beat the casino. I got kicked out of the casino. It's funny that, one of my 5 science degrees is in mathematics, and I was actually very fascinated with casino games because they taught it in a class called Discrete Math 1 and Discrete Math 2. And you had to demonstrate your knowledge of this. And I said, that's interesting. And the lesson we got out of this is most of the time the casino wins, but there may be a few games of vulnerabilities that can be identified, that can be defeated. And even in the case of games you can't beat in the game itself, if you have marketing advantages, such as promotional coupons or whatever, you can actually be a net winner. And I actually, I was invited by a professor. Let me see if I could find the citation. Professor of, I'm ad-libbing a little bit here. Dr. Robert Marks, professor of electrical engineering at Baylor University, distinguished professor of electrical engineering at Baylor University. And he has a podcast called Mind Matters AI, AI being artificial intelligence. He is knowledgeable about artificial intelligence, evolutionary algorithms, etc. I applied for a PhD. He invited me to apply for a PhD program down there in Texas. And that I ended up going to Liberty University instead to study biomolecular engineering. I'm a PhD student at Liberty University in biomolecular engineering. But while I was at Baylor interviewing to be a PhD student at Baylor in electrical engineering, I was going to study photonics. he said, Sal, why don't we record? He was fascinated by I don't know how it came up. He knew he'd seen me in a movie. Oh my goodness. There is this movie called The Holy Rollers. I was in the credits of the movie Holy Rollers. Now there are two movies called Holy Rollers by that title. Holy Rollers was about a group of religious people. That was the first Holy Rollers. The second one was about Christian gamblers, and I was in the credits of that movie. And Dr. Marks, being astute, he was watching it on Netflix, and randomly he saw my name, and he said, "Yeah, I watched that, Sal." And he wanted me to, because he has this Mind Matters podcast, he wanted me to talk about gambling games. Now, how this relates to intelligent design and creation science and creationism is it helped me to refine my understanding. And you actually hear a lot of my arguments against Darwinian evolution and origin of life. They are subtle ways of expressing the gambling math. So you'll hear me use words like expectation value, law of large numbers, and that's the bread and butter of a skilled gambler. And he said, let's record. He said, why don't we record 5 episodes of this? So in June and maybe even part of July 2022, every weekly podcast had me on, but we recorded it in one session while I was at the laboratories down there at Baylor at his office. And so that was a lot of fun. So why do I bring that up? Well, that makes it possible if you're beating the game, you can get all of these comps. And that would include dinner, hotel, shows, events, etc. So when I responded to Cheshire Viq and said, in my casino days, I would treat you to dinner. I would be able to treat her to wine and a nice dinner on the house because it's complimentary that they give to high rollers. And I was a high roller. Not as big. I wasn't whale level high rolling. But I've had like $900 on the table on a single bet because that's what the math said. If you want to make a certain average hourly wage, you have to be betting at that level. And of course, until you get kicked out, they're like, this is a desirable patron, AKA sucker. And so we'll give him comps, invite him to hotels. So he'll keep coming and we'll just plunder all of his wealth until they figure out you're not a sucker. You're a skilled mathematical gambler and you're going to bring the house down if they don't kick you out. And I got kicked out. But I was just mentioning it to Chesh. I said, if only I were still that bad boy gambler. And that was some years ago. But so I was just musing, what would I give to Chesh? So I would take her. This is my favorite casino. It is the Venetian and the Palazzo. They're joined together. They're one system. The Venetian and the Palazzo are my favorite casinos. It's beautiful. The size of the casino is breathtaking. I can't believe this is also just glorious architecture. And then the other favorite casino is the Bellagio. Bellagio, famous for foods, famous for its fountains. I would take her to the Bellagio fountains. And as I said, being the girly man that I am, I play piano. And one of my favorite pieces is Rachmaninoff's Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini. And this relates to the Casino Bellagio. I actually played this for church to thank God that I was healed after a hang gliding accident. I thought I'd never play piano again because I crushed my arm when I crashed my hang glider and it crashed me. but praise God, I recovered, and it gave me an opportunity to give my testimony and gratitude to God for healing my arm. And I played Rhapsody and the Theme of Paganini. You'll get to hear it here. So I played this at church, and you can even see some of my handwritten notes on the score here to remind me, to help me strategize how to play the piece. In any case, this is tied to the Bellagio fountains. The fountains have these water jets that can be moved. And you'll see that they're able to direct the water, both the strength of the water and the direction. And they have arrays of these all around. And they have a choreographer that decides how to aim these water jets to make it something artistic and beautiful. And they'll set it to beautiful music. And so you see these fountains. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. How do I know this? I was there several times. There's a lot about the casino industry that's just ugly and disgusting, but it pays for beautiful works of art like this, which you're about to see. And this is a glorious example of combining music and engineering and fluid mechanics and computers, you name it, and lighting. It is beautiful with architecture. And so this is where your good gambling dollars have been invested. And I would have treated Cheshire Viq to this, and it's free. You can go and watch the fountains at the Bellagio if you visit Las Vegas. If you don't gamble, this is a beautiful thing just worth to watch. So let me play it for you. Let me cue it up, and you will hear Rhapsody on the Theme of Paganini, which again I've played many times in my life. So let's roll. And unfortunately, the music was cut just a several seconds short. Um, that makes me really miss being in Las Vegas. God had other plans. I've been to Las Vegas I probably spent uh, probably the equivalent of several weeks there. And, I just couldn't last in that town because I was getting kicked out of the casinos. But again, going back on what it could have been, I would have taken Cheshire Viq to see the fountains of the Bellagio. Of course, then we would have to have dinner. And this is the view from one of the Bellagio's restaurants. The Bellagio is famous for its food. There was a beautiful story of one of their head executive chefs who had just a beautiful life story turnaround. He had been jailed for distributing cocaine, and the only job he could get was to cook. And he became a Christian, and he cooked his way into becoming a very famous chef. I am sorry, I've since forgotten his name, but I've mentioned it on my YouTube channel before. It's a beautiful story. And their food is famously good. There are numerous restaurants. These places are like malls. These casinos are so gigantic, they're like malls. It's kind of sad that it's built on gambling, but there's such a level of beauty and excellence there. It's just like, wow, this is like the hand of God. So just you could tell I love architecture, and Las Vegas has such beautiful architecture that I have never seen anywhere else in the United States. And then, so that's the Bellagio. It's a long walk to the Venetian. You can make it if you're reasonably athletic. It's a walk. It's not easy. But oh my goodness, speaking of, now the Venetian, they have this Phantom of the Opera. This Phantom of the Opera theater. It was built around Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical Phantom of the Opera. Now, I actually wasn't aware of it until many, oh, goodness, 24 years ago. A young lady at church, I met her. She was attractive, and we would just meet each other in passing, a few weeks after we had been introduced, and she said, we just started talking about music. She said, let me loan you this CD. And that was kind of clever of her because she knew, I'll tell you why I was looking back there. She knew why, she was clever. She knew that would mean I'd have to return it to her. We'd have more conversations. So one thing led to another, and we started singing. We started to hang out a little bit more together. We were never officially a couple, but she really got me liking music from Phantom of the Opera. Should I play a little bit of that now? I don't know. This video is already kind of long, but it has some beautiful music to it. So I tell you what, while I am, can I even find it? Do I have a version of it here? I think I could dig up Cliff Richard and Sarah Brightman. Oh, this is a sad story. Sarah Brightman The musical was made by Andrew Lloyd Webber. He was married to a singer named Sarah Brightman. You could tell that the song, I mean, this is my best understanding, I could have some of the details wrong, was built around her voice. And she is like the gold standard for how it should be sung. And I have to take a little break. So this is a good opportunity for me to share the video with you all. And hopefully it will come across okay.
Hey there.
And I have to deal with the obnoxious ads first. But I want you to see this is the sort of culture that you'll experience in the high-end casinos in Las Vegas. Kind of the cultural experience. You would think you're in an artistic environment because this is thrown at you. When you're walking through the Venetian, I've stayed at the Venetian, I've dined at the Venetian, I've gambled in the Venetian, and it's not unusual to it's just a powerful experience. The place is a cathedral. The place is like a cathedral with all of this classical art and paintings. It's just awesome. And they play classical music in certain places. And then you can also hear Phantom of the Opera. And this is what I wanted to give to Chesh. It's not necessarily specifically her, but when you experience, what I mean by that is when you experience something so powerful and beautiful, it's like, it's kind of a shame I don't have someone to share this with. That was the feeling. And that's kind of what I'm sharing here. So this is therapeutic. I get to kind of share the beauty of Las Vegas, the high-end beauty, not kind of the gutter experience. There's plenty of that in Las Vegas, unfortunately. But kind of the artistic, the beautiful aspects of Las Vegas. And that's what has meant so much. And yeah, for me, it wasn't a bad experience gambling because I was skilled. I knew I was going to win. If the casinos let me play, I'd own them. So it wasn't the worry that I would eventually be ground into the dust by the casino. I could actually, because skilled gamblers, they can actually have an opportunity to enjoy the beauty around them and not get caught up in all the gambling and losing. So let me play. So I think that explains why I wanted to do this, because I couldn't share this with anyone and have an opportunity to take someone to Las Vegas with me. I'm sharing it here to my YouTube audience, and maybe there's someone there who can appreciate it. I'm thinking of you, some of you ladies out there, you know who you are, like Janet. So let me play this for you while I step out, and I'll be right back.
No more talk of darkness. Forget these wide-eyed fears. I'm here, nothing can harm you. My words will warm and calm you. Let me be your freedom. Let daylight dry your tears. I'm here with you, beside you, to guard you and to guide you. inside you. Anywhere you go, let me go too. That's all I ask of you.
And I hope you enjoyed that.
Don't miss Marvel
Oh.
Animations.
And they would play these commercials after such a beautiful work of art. Yes, be in Las Vegas. That sort of music is being played through the speakers. It's just beautiful. You would wake up and you'd hear beautiful music like that. You would hear at the piano bar concert pianists playing. So if that's one's taste, that's like a dreamland. And that's the part of Las Vegas I miss so much. And I realized, it's amazing when I just spontaneously start to articulate things. I realized what this all was about. Chesh. It wasn't her specifically. It's just a very natural tendency that when you are experiencing something so beautiful, you kind of want to have someone to enjoy it with. This is like going to the game with friends. Now, I will never invite a guy to come watch figure skating with me. It just doesn't seem right. Okay. It just seems like something very appropriate to give to a woman, just like giving her flowers or something feminine. I have that, like I said, I'm kind of a girly man, and that sensitive streak, what I enjoy, and I kind of have a sense of how certain women, not all of them obviously, might enjoy something. And the reason I stepped out, I'll explain a little bit, is that I think I didn't intend to share this, but this is now almost 24 years ago. So I feel a little bit more unimpeded to talk about this. And I think I will be delighted to actually experience some therapeutic effect by finally talking about this. Now I have a photo album, and I took some pictures with my cell phone of the pictures in the photo album. So the quality of the picture you're about to see is not that good. But let me share it with you. The young lady's name is Laura. She's the one who got me interested in Phantom of the Opera. There she is. We're both sitting on our porch. We were about to go watch figure skating that day. And I don't know. She had really nice footwear that day. I like those boots. I don't know what it is. I mean, everything about her was beautiful. I'd seen her wear such ugly shoes before, but she's wearing some nice shoes that day. Just to me, that was a touch of class. We were going to go watch figure skating. We spent the whole Saturday together. That was just wonderful. I mean, we had to drive really long distance. You know, I had to pick her up from her parents' house. I was 38 at the time. She was 25. I actually thought she was 21 and she thought I was 25. It was just funny. And we're going to go watch figure skating. One other thing is she's a singer. So we would wander off into some rooms at church and we'd start to sing to each other, including the song you just heard by Sarah Brightman. And I can't sing. My voice is shot. I'm no longer, I mean, I was a music student, piano and voice. Like I said, I'm a girly man. I love singing. I've only written one poem. So, you know, just so you know, I'm not quite that girly. Anyway, back then, 21 years ago, I had a voice. Say you love me every waking moment. And so we would sing these love songs to each other. We'd go into the parking lot and start singing. We would sing Phantom of the Opera in Broadway musicals like Jerome Kern. Showboat. Showboat was about a gambler. Just something about, he was a gambler, but he was singing these, he meets his love. And when they first meet, you know, they haven't been properly introduced, so they have to make believe. And he says, we could make believe I love you. And so Laura and I would sing these songs to each other. And, you know, I got kind of caught up in it and I started to like her beyond us just rehearsing songs. And I said, let's go watch figure skating. And then I had to go, since I was also a pilot at the time, you have to maintain what they call currency. The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, wants if you're a pilot, you should keep practiced. Otherwise, you have to go back to flight school and get some sort of, minor retraining, because they want to make sure that you could operate the airplane, and practice makes perfect. So I had to go up anyway. And I said, hey, Laura, let's go flying sometime. And so we actually spent more time driving out to the airport where the airplane was parked. I had to pick her up from Maryland, drive her out to Warrenton, Virginia. And I thought it was December 12th. I have a pilot's log here. And this was probably one of the most beautiful nights of my life. And there it is. I have her signature. Oh my goodness, I have her signature in my logbook. So this is my pilot's logbook, and her signature is like right there. Oops, I shouldn't really show that. December 1st, 2001, took her up. And again, this is therapeutic for me. If you're bored to death, I still sort of have to do this, at least for myself. I want to show you a picture of us after we landed. This is let me get another tab. Hopefully this doesn't crash the system. So this was us December 1st. And we landed at SHD, which is the call sign for Shenandoah Airport. And you could see the propeller here. That's a Cessna one. I think that was a Cessna 172 I took her up in. Now, when we left, when we started the day as we were driving out, it was hot. We were in short sleeves. But given that it may be a warm December day, once it turned night, it got cold, and she needed to borrow. I felt I should give her my jacket. I had a spare. I had my pilot's jacket plus this one. And I said the chivalrous thing is to give her your jacket. I just realized I had stored that jacket away after that flight. It became kind of sentimental after that point. And I decided to look for it in my house. And you can actually see it has the, it looks like the jacket she wore, because this is that very jacket. And I still have it after 24 years. It's a functional jacket. So there's no reason to dispose of it, but I don't know. Maybe just for sentimental reasons, I didn't want to use the jacket. And so, yeah, we really did take that flight. One thing I'll mention, if you see that light there, that's actually a full moon. It just so happened we flew on a full moon night. There were optical illusions along the way, and I thought we were going to run into a mountain, and that was an optical illusion. And I said, well, I know those mountains are probably about 8,000 feet high or 6,000. And so we were flying from Warrenton, Whiskey 66 Airport, flying west toward SHD, Shenandoah. And I knew I'd have to, the aviation chart said you'd have to go high. And I said, okay, I'm 7,000 feet or 8,000 or whatever. I'm clearing the mountains according to regulation by 1,000 feet. But why do I think I'm going to run into it? And so I didn't panic. I said, well, I could either turn around or just gain more altitude. I think I took that plane up to 12,000 feet. Now, there's a certain point you have to worry about hypoxia. And if you're there for higher, at that altitude for more than 30 minutes, you should have supplemental oxygen. But we were high up for a small airplane. And I, suddenly the mountains that I thought I was going to slam into disappeared. It could have been clouds, who knows? We do know optical illusions can happen. But the point is we were really, really high. And how does the moon play into that? Well, the moon was rising. It's just like you have sunrises, you have moon rises. The moon was just rising. Laura looked back and said, look, the moon is, look at that moonrise. And I turned the airplane around and I said, let's fly toward it a little bit. We're going away from our destination, but let's take a few minutes and enjoy the sights. Because from that altitude, when you look down, it's like you're looking at a sunrise. It was a strange looking sunrise because the moon was so bright, but it wasn't the sun. It gave this beautiful glow, and you know what full moons look like. Just imagine that at the horizon, but you could see the horizon so well when you're up at 12,000 feet. In fact, you look at the horizon your plane is up here, you're looking actually down at the moon when it's just rising. Never seen a sight in my life like that again. I probably never will. You just need the right conditions, and it just looked beautiful. Now, this is in the era before smartphones where it was easy to make videos. My digital camera was stowed away, and I was too busy flying the airplane. And I said, let's just enjoy the moment. And, you know, I mean, Laura was used to me singing for her, and she was used to singing for me. And I suddenly just broke out in song. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. I sang the whole song for her, my memory. My voice is way better than it is now. My voice is shot. And then I turned around the airplane and we landed. We picked up a friend to fly him around the pattern a little bit and landed. And if you buy gasoline for your airplane at the airport, they provide you with a courtesy car. And so I said, let's go out to dinner. And so I took her out to dinner. The airport provided the car. It had a beautiful radio station, and they were playing our kind of music, Broadway musicals, West Side Story, tonight. They're playing all these beautiful lyrical songs. We went to the restaurant Argos, and I don't even remember what we ordered on the menu. We had a lot of fun, and I was just sad that the night had to end, and I flew her back. Sadly for me, anyway, happily for her, she eventually met someone, and she fell in love and married him. That was very heartbreaking for me. I was very attached to her, and that's how the story ended. Shortly, mercifully, I think I met a few other girls along the way to kind of take the sting out of that. And but sadly, my father died, and I did not recover for 10 years, and I took care of my mother for 20. So that's the part of my life that it's, you know, was abruptly stopped for a variety of reasons. But I just remember the beautiful experiences. It's not just about the girl. I'm realizing now it was just the experience of flying and experiencing something so beautiful. It was just nice to have a little companionship to share something that good with. To that end, and I need to do this, I want to, I tried to, it took me a whole day to put together a video. This video had, I posted it on my channel, only has like 13 views, and I didn't care. I wanted to archive for me kind of the impression of what it was like from you know, the viewpoint of someone inside the airplane, what it was like to fly through beautiful clouds and beautiful scenery. And there's a video made in Hungary by this pilot in Hungary, and he took his girlfriend up for a flight. And there's so much about that whole video that would be easy to miss if you're anyone else except someone who's done this and who loves doing this. It showed the two of them getting, you know, when they're in the airplane trying to get ready for their flight, and she's putting on her headset and kind of grimacing, you know, having to just adjust it. And you see that, you know, her boyfriend flipping all the switches and getting the airplane and looking at the charts. I mean, it's just, there's kind of a lot of mundaneness to it before the excitement actually happens. But this is really good about showing the whole process. And it captured that day on December 1st, 2001 so well, at other times as well. And I would just, I'm just going to enjoy sharing this with, I mean, I posted it on the channel, but I think it'll have a little more impact now. It does have the song, one that I've only relatively recently started to like. It's All I Ask of You by Jerome Kern. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. There's a piano version of it that is just phenomenally played, which I wish I could play like that for that genre of music. But anyway, let me share it with you guys. And this is what it was like to go on a magical date. Thank you all for watching that one with me. We have a few more clips to go. I've just had such a wonderful time just sharing things here on the internet. So as this has been talking about kind of my dreams of me and Cheshire Viq, it's been a vehicle to actually explore my past and find some degree of healing as I just reflect on my life. Certainly there was a disappointment that I never was able to marry the girl of my dreams, and there have been many girls that just didn't work out. And the sad thing is, I think the saddest thing is when the girl really likes you and you know you're not interested. That's the saddest thing. I don't, I'd rather be the one that hurt to be hurt than her. And it just sometimes happens in the course of trying to meet the right one. And there were definitely a couple girls whose hearts were really broken. And I did everything I could to minimize the pain. And then I've had my heart broken probably by a factor of 5. Usually I'm on the receiving end, which maybe looking in retrospect, I'd rather it be that way, that I'd be the one that's hurt and not the girl. That's just something I don't ever want to do. With that being said, as I let us complete kind of some of the things I was talking about on, what I would have done for Cheshire Viq in Las Vegas, we would have had Phantom of the Opera. But that would be after dinner, of course. So after a nice dinner, we'd go to the theater and listen to some beautiful music. Afterward, and I'm kind of old-fashioned here, she would have to be chaperoned by her mother if she went to visit me in Las Vegas. So I would have to gamble a lot to make sure I got the comps. I would put her up in a room. So this is the bathroom of a typical suite in the Venetian. They put me up for free in a place like that. That's the bathroom. And for mom, there's a little bed for mom, and for Chesh, I would be in another room. It's kind of the appropriate way to handle this. But every place is a suite, and you have your own dining table and couch and sofa. Every room in the Venetian is at least a suite. There's some that are, this is a standard suite. At the Venetian, they have, you can only imagine what the luxury suites look like. But that would have been so nice. I've stayed several days. I got comped, as they say, compliments of the casino for free, several nights like that, and also food. And since Chesh is a connoisseur for fine wines and other sort of drinks, if you're like, say, at my side playing blackjack, and remember, on the whole, we're not net losers, because I would call and tell you how to play your hands. I'll say, like, hit 14, split eights, etc. I tell you when to raise and lower your bets, and you would be a winner. You'd be playing like a winner, so you don't have to sweat it like a typical gambler. We're on the winning side of the equation, the law of large numbers. But you would get free drinks. So you could have your dark and stormy, if you like, with the Kraken rum. What drinks would be appropriate? If they have ice wines, I think that would be nice. Or you could have cognac, vermouth, Grand Marnier. I'm sure there are some other drinks there. Now, unfortunately, there's a nefarious motive by the casinos to give you free drinks, and you can guess why. Because you start to play stupid when you're drunk. Oh, man, I did have one playing partner. She got so mad at me because I chastised her. I said, "You didn't hit 14. I called hit 14, and you ignored it." I said, "Stop drinking." She was bad. But I was like, you don't play, I wanted her to kind of ease off on the drinks. Now, that said, one way to get around that is to, I do the playing, and, the waitress is happy to give. If I ordered the drink, I just give it to my date. And like I said, because I'm Asian and I have that deficiency in the ALDH2 gene, chromosome 12, RS671 allele, alcohol would make me sick before it made me drunk. I will have dessert drinks. Oh, speaking of which, for Chesh, this is what I would order for you. There'd be a variety of things, but I think my favorite mixed drink is Breyer's ice cream with whiskey. Oh my goodness, that's such a decadent drink. It's sweet. It says in the Bible, you mix milk into your wine or something like that, cream into your wine. And so this is kind of in the same venue, something sweet with alcohol in it. I didn't drink it for its effect on me. Again, it would have a negative effect on me physiologically, but the taste was so decadent. It was beautiful. It was elegant too. And it's something that I had to limit myself to, otherwise I'd get sick. But the taste was just delicious. And I kind of miss it. I really do. So let's see, we're getting toward the end of the story here. So after I sent Chesh and her mom off to turn in, it's time for the man to work. So just like James Bond, I'd be there in the casino and I'd be working it. And he's playing low stakes. If that's green, that's $25 chips and the reds are 5. What you want to be betting are black chips. Black chips are $100 chips. So when I throw black chips down, the dealer will say black action. The purple chips are $500 denominations. And that's, I think they call them grapes or something, purple. They usually call it purple. Now the orange chips are $1,000 and they call those pumpkins. You rarely see pumpkin action in the casino. I've seen it. I've never done pumpkin action. I've done black and purple action. The pumpkin action is, I saw a high roller doing pumpkin action. You'd see $10,000 bets per hand. That was sometimes it's just fun to watch. Although you may feel very sorry for the patron if he's losing. As I said, if you're curious about all of these techniques, go to the Mind Matters AI podcast and you can hear an entire month's worth of me and Professor Marks talking about how to beat the casino. So after I just imagined, now you know how my mind works. I imagine after just such a beautiful day and then me working late at night to bring home the bacon, working the casinos, that is, the casino floor, we all wake up and have breakfast. And if Chesh and her mom wanted to go for a gondola ride at the Venetian, their gondola is outside, and in case of very hot weather, I'll explain what that picture is. They'll have gondolas inside the casino. This is an artificial clouds on the ceiling. This is totally artificial. I've walked in there in the Venetian. So I want to thank all the viewers who have watched this far. And so even though the Delilah in my life, it's just so funny. It's Beethoven, and I said it's over when I said Jordan Peterson. Even though that's over, it gives me an opportunity to reflect on some things, some beautiful things, just to kind of reminisce of pleasant memories in my past, and maybe mentally edit out maybe kind of the pain. It's funny how if you choose to, you can tend to just remember all the good things in your life. And so what lessons have I learned? Well, if I ever meet, in the very unlikely event, especially at my age, that I meet Miss Wright, what would be the requirement specifications, to use an engineering phrase? She would have to be a Christian. She would have to like kind of the music you've heard shared here today. When I was younger, a requirement would be that she'd have to be willing to go up in the airplane with me and fly and enjoy life that way. Since I don't fly anymore, it's kind of moot. She'd have to be attractive, of course. She'd have to like Jordan Peterson. So why did I say that? Yeah, I blurred out to conceal the identity of the female here, but hope she would enjoy kind of the finer things in life too. And originally I just intended to show this picture. I didn't intend to show Laura, but I had a email exchange with Mr. Jetty over the emails, and you're talking about Hungary, and it reminded me of Laura. Anyway, I was going to show this picture, and that'd be kind of like what I would want to have, and she would have to like to watch Jordan Peterson. If she liked kind of, wines and other drinks, it'd be nice if we had a bar like this bar. This bar was a church once upon a time, a cathedral, and it got converted into a bar. That just seems like such a nice Christian, reverent place to have a glass of wine or drink some of these other drinks. That being said, I do have a medical responsibility to say alcohol is not good for your brain and other functions. If you can get high on life outside of alcohol and find other things that taste good, that would add to your life and your happiness, your long-term happiness. So just being a not to throw too much cold water on the idea of drinking. But that being said, if you're going to drink, why don't you drink some of the best? I have the Grand Marnier. There's a Grand Marnier series here. Quintessence is the absolute upper end. Oh my goodness. I think it's $1,000 a bottle for Grand Marnier Quintessence. The lower end you can get for $50. It tastes wonderful. As this may sound funny, my favorite meal is to have a double cheeseburger with bacon, or a quarter pounder with bacon, a milkshake, Coke, French fries, Grand Marnier, and an apple pie from McDonald's. The only thing from McDonald's is not from McDonald's would be Grand Marnier. That is my favorite meal. because I'm on a ketogenic diet trying to resist the onset of diabetes. I don't go to McDonald's too much, and I definitely try to reduce eating fries, but that would be my meal. Grand Marnier and McDonald's. And what else? So I would like to at least give, well, I already offered Chesh the Grand Marnier, Cognac, Courvoisier Cognac, and I have Grand Marnier, Courvoisier Cognac, and Gallo Vermouth, and I have that here. I have this one right here. It's very delicious. And unfortunately, this will turn off Chesh, but not my future Christian wife. She will love watching lobster lessons with me from Jordan Peterson. Oh, but I forgot to mention, I jumped ahead a little bit. There's also ice wine. I did meet one Christian girl who is a wine connoisseur and stumbled on this concept called ice wine. The grapes are gathered in ice. It causes some effect on the grapes because they're frozen, but the glucose ends up concentrating. I don't know the mechanism of concentration. So you end up generating very, very, very sweet wine, wine with high concentrations of glucose in it. And up in Michigan, and I've visited these chateaus, like Chateau Chantal, they offer ice wines. There's also one at Traverse, Michigan. I know that because there are casinos up there. I played at those casinos. I've beaten those casinos, and then they backroom me, which means is they kind of imprison you, just kind of make you uncomfortable. And since it's an Indian reservation, they're not under federal law, or it's restricted. And the tribal elders have to decide your fate for you being caught in the casino counting cards. But anyway, they let me go, obviously. So my casino days there are also kind of burned out, but they had very nice wines in that area. And I particularly like the dessert wines. They were ice wines, glucose concentrated. Now I'll tell you a little secret. I bought $100 bottles of ice wine, and you only got a little bit of ice wine. It's a very difficult process. That's why it's kind of expensive. And it was decadently, insanely delicious. Now, there are federal regulations, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, etc. It's mostly an issue of labeling and authenticity, not that you can't synthesize an ice wine artificially. That is, you should be able to get glucose and just pour it in there. Why do you have to have this process of using grapes and ice? And that got me to thinking, can I make my own ice wines by taking a cheap wine and just throwing sugar in it? And the answer is yes. Now it doesn't have kind of the bouquet, kind of the fragrance and almost that fragrance feel of a real ice wine. But I think with some finagling, you can tune the taste. So that's a question in nutrition and biochemistry, but I found that out. You can synthesize it. Again, I drink the wines for the flavor, and long term, you have to try to limit your alcohol. So it's definitely a treat. It is a dessert, and it's been over a decade, I think, since I've had ice wine. So that would have been for Chesh. But any prospective Christian lady that might want to partake, oh man, it would be so nice to have wine. Now let me give you a Christian story here. This, I mentioned here it is, Chateau Chantal. Chateau Chantal. And you could see this is where they plant the grapes. And the story is Bob and Nadine Begin, former priest and nun. So that's a priest, that's a nun. And they had a daughter named Marie Chantal. And they made a winery. Now, just so you know, especially for those Catholic, I used to be Catholic, it's like priests aren't allowed to get married, neither are nuns. That's not exactly correct. You can't remain a priest and get married. You're allowed to leave the priesthood if you choose to marry. So there's certain strictures. It's like, okay, I don't know if you can just flat out leave the priesthood and still be faithful to your vows, but you can still be faithful to your vows as a priest if you leave the priesthood by getting married, and same for the nuns. So at least in the eyes of the Catholic Church, they're good to go. And I can't imagine anything more beautiful than a story like that. So the nun and priest are serving the Lord together, and they find, well, hey, we could do this as a married couple, and they have a child together. I think that's just beautiful. I had the privilege of meeting Nadine, and I think I met Chantal. I think that's just a beautiful story. And they make ice wine. So what can we do with that? If you have, although alcohol is not conducive to learning and absorbing information, we could just at least fantasize what a delightful experience it would be to be drinking Grand Marnier or ice wine while you learn from Jordan Peterson. And with that, I'll finish this video with Jordan Peterson. Glory and honor to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Glory and honor to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. God bless, as it says in Ephesians 6:24, God bless all those who love our Lord Jesus Christ with an undying love. Thank you all for joining me, and please enjoy this clip of Jordan Peterson. Thank you.
I was thinking the other day, a journalist asked me why people are responding so positively to what I'm saying, the young men, for example, and I thought, why? Yeah, that's a good question. He says, well, I'm actually on their side. I'm really happy that they're not wasting their lives. I'm really sad to see that people are disenchanted and nihilistic and depressed and anxious and aimless and perverse and vengeful and all of those things. It's terrible. And then to see people question whether that's necessary and then to start to rise out of it. It's like, it's so fun. Like last night I was after my talk, it's overwhelming. I don't usually think about these things, but I was after my talk last night, and so all these people line up, and they have their 15 seconds with me, and they're kind of tentative. They're excited and attentive when they come up to talk to me, and then they have 15 seconds of time to tell me something. I'm really listening to them, and they're hesitant about whether or not to share the good news about their life, and I think it's often because when people share good news about their life, people don't necessarily respond positively. They don't get encouragement. And people need so little encouragement. Yeah. It's just unbelievable. And so they'll tell me something good, and I think, oh, that's so good. Somebody says, oh, I'm getting along way better with my father. I haven't seen him for 10 years, and now we get along. It's like, God, great. Yeah. And then the power of that, you can't overstate the power of that for individuals to get their life together. The individual is an unbelievably powerful force, and every single person who gets their act together a little bit has the capacity to spread that around them. It's a chain reaction, and so it's a lovely thing to see. And
That's fantastic.
our daughter ended her life at 24 due to depression. If someone is determined to end their life, how can one change their mind? Oh, well, first of all, I'm very sorry about that. That's a terrible thing. Look, I had this friend, sorry. There's been a lot of depression in our family, so it's a question that cuts close to the bone. Anyways, I had this friend, a friend of my parents, and her granddaughter committed suicide, you know. She was just beating herself up about that. What could have I done? What could have I done differently? This is the problem with suicide. It leaves everybody behind thinking, oh my God, what could have I done? I could have treated the person better. I could have listened. I could have been there. It's like, and she was just beating herself up about this, really feeling that she wasn't a useful person, that she'd failed as a grandmother. She's a really good person, you know. And so I went for a walk with her, and I said, and she's married, and she likes her husband, and he's a really good guy. And I said, look, you're blaming yourself for your granddaughter's suicide. It's like, are you blaming your husband? Are you sitting him down and telling him what a useless bastard he was as a grandfather because his granddaughter committed suicide and how he failed completely? She said, no, I'd never do that. So I said, well, don't do it to yourself.
One of the things that has just blown me away in the last year, because I've talked to lots of people live, you know, but also lots of people online. But it's more obvious live, and it's obvious in this theater as well, is that I've gone around and spoken, and a large proportion of my audience has been young men, you know, under 30, something like that. And I've spoken to them a lot about responsibility. And what's so odd about this is that of all the things that I've spoken about, because I can see the audience and I can feel how the audience is reacting, because I'm always paying attention to all of you insofar as I can manage that. So I get some sense of how what I'm saying is landing, you know, which you have to do if you're going to speak effectively to people. And what happens is, if I talk about responsibilities, everyone is silent, just like they are now. Silent and not moving, right? Focusing, attentive. Say, pick up your responsibility. Pick up the heaviest thing you can and carry it. And the room goes quiet and everybody's eyes open. And I think, that always makes me break up. I don't know why. I was speaking to an English journalist today who was going to write an article in Spectator magazine, and I was talking about this, and at the same point in the discussion, I had the same emotional reaction. I don't really understand it. I think there's something about it that's so crucial, because, you know, we've been fed this unending diet of rights and freedoms, and there's something about that, there's something about that that's so pathologically wrong, and people are starving for the antidote, and the antidote is truth and responsibility, right? And it isn't because that's what you should do in some I know better, or someone knows better for you what you should do sense. It's that's the secret to a meaningful life, and without a meaningful life, then all you have is suffering and nihilism and despair and all of that, and self-contempt, and that's not good. And so it's necessary for men to stand up and take responsibility, and they all know that and are starving for that message, and the message is more that that's also a good thing, to stand up and take responsibility, because you're cursed so much now from when you're young with this notion that your active engagement with the world is part of what is destroying and undermining the planet and adding to the tyranny of the social systems. It's like, how about not so much of that, hey? because it's too soul deadening. It's anti-human right to the core. And my sense instead is that, you know, if you were able to reveal the best of yourself to you in the world, that you would be an overwhelming force for good.
My primary motive as a clinical psychologist and educator is to help individuals live more meaningful and productive lives in harmony with their families and their community. That's my motive. And the evidence for that, I think, is, well, if people go online, and first of all, you can watch the lectures and decide for yourself, but you can also go, I suspect probably maybe 250,000 people have commented on the lectures and their effects on them. And so that's what people say. I'm watching the lectures, I'm trying to develop a vision for my life, I'm trying to become more responsible, and it's really helping. And that's what I hear all the time when I do these public lectures, like, which aren't political.
But when we gain success, we raise the bar. We set our ambitions higher. I mean, what is your end game? What do you want?
That's all. That's what I want. I want to help as many individuals as possible become more courageous, more truthful, and more engaged in the pursuit of individual, familial, and social harmony. That's what I want.
You're pursuing what is meaningful.
I'm pursuing, I believe that to be the case. It's certainly meaningful to me. I mean, there isn't, everywhere I go now, it doesn't matter where I land, in what airport, or if I walk down the street, 3 or 4 people will come up to me and they'll tell me, I was in a dark place, I was anxious, depressed, nihilistic, drug addicted, alcoholic, homeless, in jail, you name it. Bad relationship with my girlfriend, bad relationship with my parents. I've been watching your lectures or reading your book. I've been trying to tell the truth and get my life together, and everything is way better. And so then you think, well, if you could have what you wanted and what would be meaningful, you imagine you could go anywhere in the world and people would come up to you that were strangers and tell you that. That's as good as it gets.
I read the story. It's an autobiography, if I remember correctly, of the captain. I might be wrong about that, but I've got the basic story right. Well, they had a shipwreck in the Antarctica. And then they were there for a whole year in the Antarctica, you know, and none of them died, not one. He didn't lose a single man, not one. He kept their morale high. And then they took this boat that was on the ship, and they crossed like 400 miles of the roughest ocean, the roughest frigid ocean in the world, right? You don't go in that ocean. And then they went to an island, and they walked across the island, across these mountains that no one else has ever climbed since. And they went to the city on the other side of the island, and they got a boat, and they went and rescued their compatriots, and everyone survived. It's like, Endurance is the name of the book. You read that book, man, you think, wow, people are really tough. You know, and it's ridiculous. So who knows how tough you are? And maybe you find out by going out to find out how tough you are, right? So you take on a challenge, one that you think you can master, that's just a bit beyond your grasp, and you master it, and then you're a little tougher, and you think, hey, that worked out pretty well. And so then you're more of a monster. And then you go out and you find another challenge that's even bigger, and you think, well, maybe I can do that too. And then all of a sudden you can, and you get a little bit bigger, and God only knows what the limit is of you. And you find out by pushing yourself against the world, and of course that's what Abraham is doing. And so, see, we're very pessimistic, us modern people. You know, we're pessimistic about humanity, that's for sure. Dismal, wretched, planet-destroying, cancer on the planet, right? As the Club of Rome described us so pleasantly back in the 1960s, you know? And I don't know, maybe we're ashamed of the Cold War. Maybe we're ashamed of all the destruction in the 20th century and the hydrogen bomb and the, you know, the continuing catastrophes of our societies, and we're deeply ashamed of that and ashamed of ourselves personally. But it's a hell of a thing to, you know, call us a cancer on the planet. There's just no excuse for that, because what you do with cancer is eradicate it. And I don't think that that's a very noble motive, personally. And I think it says a lot about the people who would use such phraseology, that they would dare to conceptualize humanity in that manner. But you know, it would be nice if we could be optimistic. And I think, again, the problem with being optimistic is that it's naive. So then the question is there an optimism that's not naive? And I think there is. And the optimism that's not naive is in just a visualization of how strong people can be. So one of the things that I tell people. I've told my students in my class, in Maps of Meaning, here's a goal. You want to be the person at the funeral of your father that everyone can rely on. How would that be? You want to be the person who's broken and useless and adding to the misery in the corner. And look, I'm not making light of people's grief. You know, I understand grief. But who do you want to be when there's a crisis? Right? Do you want to be the person that everyone can turn to for strength? It's like, why the hell not? Why not that as a goal? That'd be a good goal, because then if there's a crisis, and there will be, it won't be such a bloody crisis, because there'll be someone there that can deal with it. You know, so when I went and talked to these people at the funeral home, I envisioned that. I thought, okay, well, this is something you have to contend with if you're going to be alive and adult. You have to contend with death and suffering, and you have to be ready for it. And you have to be there for the person, because that's all they're going to have. And so there's a goal, man. And in this time of nihilism, you know, it's what's the point of life? People ask. And they're taught that at universities. What's the point of life? Everything's interpretation. Humanity's a cancer on the planet. You know? Well, how about no? How about not that? How about that there's something to us